What is up, Lawn Care Millionaire? As you saw in the headline, today we are going to be talking about recreating your best clients, cloning those best clients, and just to dive right in, what we have to do before we can start recreating those best clients is we have to figure out who the heck your best clients are. So let's talk about how you decide that. So we have a couple of numerical metrics that matter and are easily gauged in whatever software you're using to report on your business, Service Autopilot, whatever you got going on. So we want to look at profitability of clients. Obviously, that is like our number one priority. Our business exists to make money so that we get paid, so our employees get paid. So profit is that obvious top level metric that we want to be working from. But it's important to keep in mind that if you have someone who works in the office and you have a client who looks profitable on paper, but 2-3 times a week, your office assistant is ending up on the phone with them for a couple of hours, dealing with complaints and having like a couple of hours not on the phone, but like then dealing with follow-up on the complaints. So if there's a really high complaint volume with this customer, then maybe they're not actually as great as they look on paper because they're eating up that profit somewhere else that's not as easily tracked. So a low complaint volume might be important to you. Proximity to other jobs. If you have a neighborhood where your branding and your marketing is just killing it for you and you have a ton of clients in this neighborhood or in this section of the city, this whole suburb, whatever that looks like, that can be a really important factor that's hard to gauge from your like initial profitability report. So we want to consider where we have our tightest clusters of customers. Those people probably live there because you've probably heard Seth Godin say this if you've listened to him talk at all about this idea of people like us do things like this. They live there because they identify themselves in such a way that they all choose to gather around the same place to live. And so if you have a tight cluster of customers there, something you're doing is appealing to people who live in that area. People like us do things like this. We buy from this lawn care company because their branding makes us feel like we're going to have a great lawn. We're going to have more time with our kids, more memories outside, whatever that is that you're leaning into there is working in that area. So let's double down on that. All right, another thing you want to look at is, do these customers buy your upsells? Whatever you have going on upsell-wise, if that's fert and weed control, spring and fall cleanups, fire ant treatments, whatever you have, your ideal customer is probably buying those things from you. We want to get more yeses out of our customers when we can. Your ideal customer is someone who acts when you put out an offer. The other thing to keep in mind about customers who buy your upsells is that they are a better testimony to your brand than someone who just pays you for regular maintenance, right? Because we know that just mowing a lawn isn't enough to keep it looking healthy and awesome. You also need to aerate, you need to overseed, all the, weed and fert, everything that makes a lawn look great. So those customers who buy in to as many of your upsells as possible that make their lawn look better are going to be a better billboard for your company than someone who just buys one service from you. So ultimately, identifying your best clients is partially a numbers game. We want to look at that profitability, the rate that people pick up upsells, the area that they live in. That's all a numbers game. But it's also a little bit of an intuition game because it's who do you want to sell to? And you're probably already crafting marketing materials around who you want to sell to. And that's why you're getting the customers that you're getting. But it's also like your ideal customer is not the customer that, you groan when you see their number on the caller ID. That's not an ideal customer. Honestly, your ideal customer may not be someone whose name you remember because they are super low maintenance. They buy your upsells and, as long as their lawn looks great, they're happy with you. That's much closer to the ideal than someone whose name you know because they're always calling in to complain. All right, so once we have looked at and kind of winnowed down, we have this list now of, okay, these are our top 15, our top 20, depending on the size of your business, this could be a list 100 clients long, it could be 5 clients, whatever size you're at, you're looking at, these are our best clients. Now what we want to do is with all the information we have about these people, either from knowing them because you sold them, or maybe you've got a few people on there that are friends, family, whatever it is, we want to look for what are the commonalities between these clients. And in marketing, we call this a persona. we're going to start to develop a singular persona that is our ideal client. And we're going to build everything else we do in the business around this persona. And sometimes your business gets big enough or you're in a diverse enough area that you have to have a couple or a few personas that you're selling to. But for starting out purposes, we want to just jump in. We want to have one persona. Maybe it is that they all live in the same area of town. They all kind of live in this same cluster of neighborhoods. These are the people who buy my upsells. These are the people who don't complain a lot. These jobs are consistently profitable. Maybe they're more profitable because I have so many grouped together. Maybe you know that these people are all around the same age. You probably don't have a lot of people my age, mid-20s, in your most profitable suburban neighborhoods, right? So maybe your persona is a late 30s, early 40s housewife who wants her lawn to look great because she's at home with the kids. Maybe it's a guy who's just done mowing his lawn. He's so tired of it. Whoever it is that you feel like this is the commonality between these people that makes them great customers, you want to identify those things. Where do they like to hang out? All of those things, because that informs later. Like if you know, man, I really think that the people who are my ideal customers eat at thus and such restaurant, then like a gift card to that restaurant might be a good giveaway that could drive some things later. When you kind of go through all this data, it's just really important to look through these customers, see what you think, try to identify some of these commonalities. And this can be a touch and go process, kind of correct things as you go. You'll test some things won't work, all of that. You're kind of winnowing this down. But what I want to recommend is the marketing team at Service Autopilot years ago, when we were going through this process to define what the ideal customer of Service Autopilot looked like, we knew that this would be a helpful thing for small business owners. And so we made our own template with a lot of questions, what's important, we think, to figuring out what your ideal customer looks like, that we put together. So there's a link in the description, and there will probably be a card popping up that will, basically it's a template you can fill out, and that'll just help you have like a clean one sheet example of your persona. And the final bit of advice that I would give here on the persona is give this person a name. That makes it where when you're talking to other staff, you can use this name and everybody will understand what it means. It'll feel a little silly at first, but you will get comfortable with it eventually. But also, when you go to write marketing material, write it to this person. You're writing to Kelly, you're writing to Mark, whoever you're working with. You're writing to one person, not an amorphous blob of everyone who could be a customer. You're writing specifically to this ideal client that you want to sell. And that's going to really help tighten up your marketing, help you keep the scope of campaigns in check, and really just help you put that pedal to the metal during selling season. So download that template, fill it out, really give some thought to this, figure out who your best clients are. All right, now, we have identified our best clients. We've narrowed that down into a persona. We've given that persona a name. And then we want to turn that persona into clients as quickly as possible. We want to use this so you can see immediate benefit from that time that you're investing. We want to see a return on investment in that time because your time's valuable. So let's talk about how we go from kind of this persona of a person who doesn't really exist but is our ideal client to we're bringing clients in the door by using this idea. And I've already talked about it a little bit with that idea of you write everything as if it's to this one person. But let's really lean into that and figure out what it means. All right, so think about who this person is, what their needs are, what problems they're having at different times throughout the year that you can help solve. So we want to think about their needs and their pain points and their problems at different points throughout the year. So if that is the kids are out of school now, and it's the summer and their lawn is covered in fire ants because they haven't gotten fire ant treatment, their kids are going to be playing outside, getting covered in ant bites, then probably a good, you want to remind them that hey, this is coming and you're going to want to deal with this because we don't want your kids getting eaten alive by ants. Obviously that's not great copy, but that is the idea that you want to go after, and you get that idea from thinking about your ideal customer. this couple that's your ideal customer, Kelly and Mark, they have 3 or 4 kids. Maybe they have a dog. All of those things that you thought about when you were developing your persona. Think about the pain points that they have throughout the year that you can raise your hand and say, like, hey, I could solve that. Hey, I can help with that. And if a huge part of that persona that you're working with is geographic, that informs the scope of your campaigns. We've talked about this in a previous video with targeting just a neighborhood or just a cluster of neighborhoods with Facebook ads or door hangers. If you know your best customer lives in this neighborhood, then you don't need to waste your time going other places. Lean into where your ideal customer is. Do a giveaway around things that you know that they like. You just want to be thinking about this not as these are a bunch of faceless people who I don't know and I don't know what they want, to these are 2 people that I have very much figured out who they are, what they like, and these are the ways that I can bring them into my business. So think about who your ideal customer is, define that persona, give them a name. I know that sounds silly. And the reason that I'm coming back to it over and over and over is because it has been invaluable to my career as a marketer to imagine a specific person, almost like they're a friend, to develop an imaginary friend for your business is what I'm telling you to do. Really figure out who this person is and think of them as one person, because it will make your copy better. It will help you target your ads. It will help you ultimately to turn, when you get these people in as leads, to turn them into clients if you have thought more about who they are and what they want. So let's get out there and let's sell some lawn care. Hey, thank you so much for watching this Lawn Care Millionaire video. We are putting out a bunch of stuff this year. Want to make sure that you see it, so make sure to click subscribe down below. I think it's actually on this side. Click that bell for notifications if you feel like you haven't seen the last few videos. Just make sure that you have clicked that bell and YouTube will make sure that you know when we have a video out. All right, we will see you next week.